So hi folks, yours truly. I'm doing a kind of a new thing with the YouTube channel. As you will all know, this has been primarily, if not entirely, dating tips and specifically how to approach girls during your daily life and flirt with them, create connections and get girls out on dates. And that still will be the main focus of the channel going forward. However, I want to branch out. I want to explain to you why it is I do want to kind of branch out or broaden the channel. A lot of you will be thinking, okay, one of these guys who taught us how to get the telephone numbers of attractive girls and get on dates and get into relationships or get up to other mischief. And now he's going lifestyle-y, woo-woo kind of how to lead your life kind of tips. You know, before you know it, he'll be talking to us about crypto, meditation, yoga, and basically he now thinks that he can talk about any topic under the sun because he's had a moderately kind of successful little YouTube channel. Yeah, so I lay those fears to rest in a number of different ways. Firstly, no, I think at the heart of everything this channel is about is exercising those social muscles, learning about social dynamics within a romantic context. There's no better therapy on the planet for a guy, at least, than engaging with the female sex, the fairer sex, and having flirtatious conversations, or even non-flirtatious conversations. There's nothing quite like it. When I say broaden out the channel, what I'm really saying is that unlike a lot of pursuits in life, unlike your profession or your vocation, your trade, this area isn't something that you should dedicate yourself to, in my humble view. Or at the very least, there are kind of dangers if you do. I've always felt that this is something of a hobby, or if you're doing a channel or in this sort of lifestyle-y business, something of a side hustle, and it should always be that, something of a side hustle. It's not like, you're a professional sportsman, so you dedicate your life to being great at golf. I'm in a Trackman, just opened in the Intercontinental Hotel, incidentally, by Wawa Golf Club. Excellent little facility here, and the staff are reasonably attractive and charming as well. So golf would be something that you would dedicate your entire life to. You spend hours, days practicing down the golf course, and if you were becoming an architect or an artist, likewise, you'd dedicate a lot of time and energy and emotional investment to your pursuit. But there's the real dangers of doing this in this area, and actually it doesn't actually get you what you want, because you could become really good at dating girls, but quite frankly, if you're looking for a long-term relationship with a girl that you're genuinely attracted to, and you also get on with them and you share the same values and you think there's a potential for long-term relationship, those sorts of quality, you want those sorts of quality girls in your life. And quite frankly, if you do get into this stuff, you start to raise your standards, then to actually have them in your life in a meaningful longer term way, with the emphasis on longer term, you're going to need to become a man that kind of can command the long-term interest of those sorts of attractive girls. And are you really going to do that by going out endlessly or Tindering endlessly, particularly if you're a more a vintage dude? No, you're not. They're not going to be attracted to a guy who's just really very good at picking up girls. What they're going to be attracted to is the guy who is, as a girl, actually recently, one of the most attractive girls I've ever had a mini relationship with in my life. But that's not an exaggeration. Talked about wanting a king, needing a king. I was like, oh, a king? Oh, bloody hell, she's upping the bar. and she was talking about if she's gonna hitch her cart to a dude, then it better be a guy who is got some level of, I hesitate to use the word status. I think a better word is a man of real substance, and actually critically a man who's got, he's on the map in a way that he's, this isn't about status and material acquisition, strangely, in my humble view. It's about his sort of travel the road of life, taking the knocks, taking the blows, develop character. It will be that he's become successful, or he's got huge potential in his particular passions and pursuits, because she wants to know that this guy is smart, wise, confident, manly enough that he's got his life sorted. As this particular girl said, she wants him to look after the external things in the world. That's what a guy does, like the caveman going out and hunting. And she wants to be a woman. The girl who said this actually, and it's often the case, it's the girls who are kind of most independent and confident and successful in the world that are actually looking for, particularly into their 30s, something a little bit old-fashioned. In other words, you've got to lead a broader life. You've got to lead a good life. You've got to become a stand-up guy, and that will show itself in the externals as well as in the internals. Your character will be reflected in accomplishments that you enjoy in the external world in your life. In short, learning approach skills, learning to be good with women is crucial and will always be crucial. And guys who just, those guys who just have, externally accomplished in the world, but they're missing something in terms of their relationships with the fairer sex. They get divorced, or they don't get a girlfriend or a wife at all, or it's the wrong one, or anything like that, because they haven't really learned about this particular area of their life. But the point is, it is only one area of your life, so don't go down the rabbit hole and don't live down the rabbit hole. It's a place that you need to know about. It's a place that you need to explore and learn about, but it's not a place you need to disappear into forever. Okay, that's quite a long prologue, isn't it? That's a lot of this is going to hit the cutting room floor if you're lucky. So you can read all about my particular dating journey in my books. And a good example of the way in which one broadens things out is I'm working with a successful film producer here in Warsaw, Polish, on a feature film project. Some of you will know that my writing interests actually go back further than my legal interests, although I've never established it in such a way that I've been able to make a career out of it. I wrote and produced plays during my university days, and I've continued to write ever since that time. And I've had my flirtations with the industry, have my successes with the industry, but haven't got a feature film or television series away. But it's something that I'm inching closer towards. So the writing the book, Too Late May, it's been really helpful. When I was in a meeting with this film producer and I was struggling to get a treatment of the film right, but I brought along the book, Too Late Mate, and he was like, what, that's it, the material is in there. So this is what I mean about broadening things out. For me personally, it means, the YouTubing that I'm doing, the book writing in this area that I'm doing, is all good grist to the mill in terms of ultimately realising the dream of getting a feature film or television series produced. So, but it's also, of course, in other ways that it is that you need to broaden out, and I want to make the focus of the channel how to. There's this song. It's a bit of a tacky pop song. It's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. That's what gets results. Yeah. An otherwise ordinary pop song has actually a lot of meaning in it, a lot of truth in it. And that's the idea of it's the way that you do things that's critical. It's not what you're doing. It's like, it's like the code. It's like discovering the matrix of life. Because we tend to think about what we're going to do and the results that we're going to get, rather than focusing on how we're going about doing it. We're more focused on the end than we are on the means. And if only we took some time and trouble just to focus on the means in terms of any pursuits that we're following and interested in life, whether it's golf or whether it's learning how to date girls. And I'm going to segue into golf in just a moment, because I think it's such a good metaphor for approaching. So, in both pursuits, if you get too wrapped up in the end goal, and you don't take care for each little and give some sort of love and attention and fully focused attention to each individual step, then you often come a cropper. And in fact, paradoxically, the way that results come, they're kind of like gifted to you by the universe, it's like some sort of a natural law, is if you take care of the means. Yeah, this is why I fundamentally disagree with the idea that the end justifies the means. Never. That's art about tit. That's completely wrong. The right results come when you take care of the means. So the first thing that I'm going to cover a range of topics going forward with this YouTube channel. I'm always going to come back to dating like a pedal note, and specifically approaching, conversing, flirting with girls during your daily life. But I'm going to broaden out into other topic areas. All these different pursuits, I have kind of brought the same it's like a master key that opens a variety of different doors. Yeah, the door to golfing achievements, the door to dating success, whatever door it might be, and you'll have your own doors, because we can. There's anything that we can do, but we can't do everything. You do have to choose doors. But you can bring this toolbox, or as I like to call it, the sort of code, this master key, to every pursuit in your life, and really actually enjoy and get a lot of fulfillment out of those pursuits. Really maximize your potential out of those pursuits, because above all, life is a practical business. Finding fulfillment and happiness is a practical business. It's not a theoretical business. So I want to sort of take us out on the road of life. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to golf. And this came about, because I went to Dubai recently and I hung out with a buddy, and he wasn't very well, and he could only do very light sports. And so we went out onto a driving range in Dubai and did some chipping. And I did a video for him after I left Dubai and edited it on the aeroplane on the way back to Warsaw. He was really good, actually. And I just sort of I gave them it was a very simple introduction, and this video is this kind of approach is for me it's the master key, but it unlocks the door to golf. It doesn't turn you into a champion golfer, but it unlocks the door such that you know that you can now do it. The beauty of this is it makes you realize that you can do anything. If you master chipping, I believe you can master all the other areas of golf. And absolutely critically, it will give you confidence. And at the end of the day, just as with approaching girls and dating, confidence is critical. Confidence is key. So if you're interested in golf, great. If you're not interested in golf, I think there's still a lot to learn from this little video. But I found it to be kind of like a meditative practice that helps banish the gloomy clouds of daily troubles and anxieties at the end of the day when I go down the driving range. So thanks for tuning in. Just to let you know that we've got a website that I keep talking about it its launch being around the corner, so you'll be bored of me talking about it, but we do have a final draft. We've got two courses this summer and one in the autumn, how to approach girls during your daily life. So stay tuned for those. Information about those courses will be on that website. Now the first thing is, we're just going to do chipping today. Golf is more for the geeks, the intellectuals. It's more meditation than it is action adventure. So we get rid of these silly things. Yeah. You want to put your spectacles on, and start to sort of focus and think carefully about all the different components that there are in a successful chipping session. It's a little bit like an airline pilot. You go through checks in the cockpit before you take off. That's a healthy approach to have to golf. And you want to structure your sessions like you come out on your own for an hour, and you want to create a little bit of a structure. So the structure we're going to create today is, I've just got two clubs here, 7 iron and a sand wedge. Use a pitching wedge rather than a sand wedge, but they didn't have a left-handed pitching wedge here. The pitching wedge is for classic, real key, critical component of the game. People like Tiger Woods say that they wish when they were younger they'd practice chipping more. It's such a critical component of the game. So we're going to do 4 different versions. Just a simple chip onto the green, like you're very close but you're not quite on the green yet. The next shot will be a putt, and that's a little bit like the putting action that you would use traditionally. Then we're going to go for a 7 o'clock position with the club, then a 9 o'clock position with the club, and then we're going to go for the breaking of the wrist, the 4th shot, just to give yourself a little bit more distance and a little bit more height where you are, 60 yards or so from the pin. Approximately, it varies. That's just guidance. Okay, so I'm going to just do a practice drill first. It's always important to warm up and get your eye in as much as anything. Not sort of physically warm up so much as get your eye in. And the practice session I'm going to do today is just simply to lay 4 balls out on the mat and give myself license to just hit 12 bad shots, 4 sets times 4. And you'll see the drill that I'm doing, which helps you to get in the rhythm. So if I just illustrate what I'm doing, and remember, before I do anything, I have a couple of warm-up strokes of each of the 4 shots, 8 shots, just off the mat. Because at the end of the day, you've got to strike the ball cleanly, and the goal should be, let's say you've got a little bit of grass on the mat, you're just actually aiming with the bottom edge of the club to hit that grass, to stroke along that grass. But before we even begin the shot, after you've had a little warm-up, we need to think about preparation, and we need to break it down. So first of all, we locate the ball. So here it is. I'm using a bit of grass here. There are different ways of doing this. This is the way I was taught. We then get into a position and make sure the grip is correct. And here is the grip, as you can see. In a right-hander, that would be their left hand at the bottom of the club, and then the second hand, which does the work, grips over the top, and the thumb runs down the club. And look, I've got my little finger over is that the index finger next to the thumb, wrapping over there. This hand with the glove on stays firm, and this arm stays straight, yeah. But this other hand, the kind of like the controlling, guiding hand, that elbow will bend, yeah. So it'll be the right hand if you're a right-hander, the left elbow if you're a left-hander. But for chipping, you don't break the wrist except for the final fourth shot. If you're watching carefully, I slightly broke the wrist at the end, and that's what gave it the extra distance. I didn't draw it back further than a 9 o'clock position. So let's now go through all of that and actually strike the ball. So let's just try the first one, which is, this is where you're just chipping onto the green. You might be actually just in the fringes, quite close to the green. So you don't want this to be too hard a shot, particularly if it's a bit of a downhill run to the flag, to the pin. This is very much like a putting shot, except, as I say, you have the golf ball next to just inside your right foot. In my case, it's just inside my left, you can see. So we go through our drill. I like to lock my legs, look ahead, sometimes hold the club up like that, nice and straight, get a bit of a feel. And then when I'm relaxed and I've got my focus on the ball, I've got my target, I'm looking for a bit of grass just underneath the golf ball. I'm not trying to hit the golf ball, I'm trying to stroke that edge underneath. And then I bend my knees and I actually pull in my stomach muscles a bit and just try and get really still. Make sure my grip is correct. Make sure the club is at right angles to the ball, so I'm aiming at the target. Feel the knees bent a little bit. Be really rock solid stable before you strike the ball. And then the final thing is, I actually lean forward a bit with the chipping. Unlike the other shots, it's kind of helpful to just lean forward a bit that way, just a touch. Sometimes you can hold the club a bit lower if you for the putting stroke, the short chip. And notice I've got about one hand's breadth between my stomach, my belly button and the club itself. That's the correct distance. Don't be like this and don't be too crunched up. I'm going to do 2 of each. That one was better, just looped up onto the green. I'll try a third one. going to go for the 7 o'clock position. By 7 o'clock I mean here, not 9 o'clock, that's 7 o'clock. And there I caught the ground before I struck the ball, so let's try that twice again. And that one was near perfect. You can actually hear when you're hitting it right. Now when you are going to the 9 o'clock position and the breaking wrists 9 o'clock position, you're rotating slightly. So you need to relax the hips. This bit stays firm. Yeah, I'm not breaking the wrists and it's firm. But you see how my right knee goes forward. You should be rotating a bit, particularly for that 9 o'clock position. And when you're breaking the wrists, you see, breaking the wrists. And the club basically ends up here. So we'll try 3 with the 9 o'clock position and look for the rotation of the hips. Make sure I'm doing it correctly. Videoing yourself is very helpful, and I like doing a session whilst I'm videoing it because it gets me to think through the drill and think about what I'm doing rather than just hit balls aimlessly. That one was sliced, possibly because I wasn't rotating freely. And that one was very nicely struck, even if I do say so myself. It'd be interesting to see back in the video whether there's more hip rotation and just relaxing a bit more. It's kind of a bit of a gay movement, the chip, you know what I mean? You have to do this. You know, and it's a bit homosexual, isn't it? In a good way. Because you do need to feel and you do need to get this rhythm. It's not robotic, although it is technical. But you can see how important the precision is, because that went a little bit too far. Whereas the previous one dropped just nicely on the ridge, which is about the distance that you're going for. Now we're going to do in the 9 o'clock position, but this time we're going to break the wrists. And this is like bridging to, you know, long iron shots and pitching and so on. Because obviously with those shots, it's a much fuller swing. We're not going to be doing any of that today. This is just simple chipping. But breaking the wrists will generate exactly the same momentum, such that it will, when you strike the ball, it will go quite high up, which of course is what you need in a golf course, because you want to take out any risk of hitting obstacles. That's why you don't just hit the ball directly at the pin. You have to go up in the air and land as close to the pin as you possibly can. So this is this will go 50 yards, quite a lot more than a 9 iron, the 9 o'clock position chip itself. But it's no different from the 9 o'clock position, except at the very end you break your wrists. And remember, you know, you do rotate. Practice swing first with a bit of grass. And now we'll try 3 with the balls. So that was hit nicely, as you can hear, and went a long way up. I could probably do one from behind me so you can see the distance. bring it round so you can see. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an introduction into an absolutely crucial area of the game. I think it's particularly crucial because putting, frankly, is a little bit of a lottery unless you're a real expert, you know, and you spend an hour on the green judging the distances and the breaks and whatnot. Whereas if you're driving, you know, it's you might have a wide fairway, and so it doesn't really matter if it goes widely left or right. You can correct, you know, you've got a little bit more latitude. And the iron shots, obviously, they are very, very important. But it's the chipping that is quite critical, because you know, it's not often you'll land a beautiful second iron shot onto the green, or you might land a driver into the woods and need to chip out of the woods or out of a hazard. So the chipping is a really critical area of golf, and I think it's a very good area to master, because it's a bridge. It gives you, if you can chip like that and slightly break the wrists at the end, it's not difficult to do. I've got a friend who's come out 2 or 3 times this week in Dubai as a beginner, and he's just taken instruction and he's followed it through, and he's chipping really nicely. We just want to add that final handbrake move, because that handbrake is, as I say, the bridge to a fuller swing with an iron shot. Because an iron shot is, you know, not a step up, but a gear change into a much more sort of physical movement, whereas chipping is much more about feel and delicacy. All right, guys, until the next golfing surgery, whatever they say in Arabic in Dubai, but farewell, adieu, do zobaczenia, until next time.